Hello guys, I am making a quick video to start working on the BAM for our first module in the AP curriculum. So Unit 1, there are the goals at the top. There's lots of resources here. The BAM assignment is to make a seizure or shift cipher. So this first video is going to talk about making this basic version. So the idea here is for single characters to be shifted based on a numeric shift stored in a program, meaning that if I said shift A by 2, it would become a C. Or in this example down here, shift a B from 3 spaces, it would become an E. And also, I can work backwards, an E with a -3 would become a B. So I'm going to switch now into Netbeans and give you a look at how I would approach this problem. So first, just to make sure that everything's up and running, I just put a simple print statement in a little test project made. I already ran it. You can see that it runs the code. So now what I'm going to do is, instead of writing code, because I really don't know what code I'm going to write yet, I'm going to start laying out the program and doing a little bit of the design. So I know the main thrust of the program is to shift characters. So I'm going to write a little comment here. It says shift a character by a certain amount. Now, there's one thing I know I need to do. Now, if I'm going to do that, it makes sense to say I need to know what my character is, and I also need to know what the amount is. So maybe above this, I'm going to say determine the character and the amount. And then lastly, a very important thing to keep in mind is, assuming my program works correctly, I want to see the result. So maybe I'll say down here something along the lines of display the results. All right. Now, since I've put these comments here, I have a little bit of a layout. Instead of one big problem making my whole program, I have 3 little problems. So let's start with the first. Determine a character and the amount. Well, if I'm going to keep track of a character, I need to create a variable to do that. And it's going to be char type. I might call it let, that stands for letter, short for letter. So let's just use my favorite letter, letter Q. Well, I have a character now. Remember, the basic version of a program, you're not concerned about making it work great. You're not concerned about making it do every feature. You're worried about just getting the basics down. So I also need an amount. If I need an amount, I'm not going to be storing a letter. I'm going to be storing an int, an integer. I'm going to call it a shift, and let's make it, say, 3. All right. Now, I have a character. I have a shift. I'm basically done this part. So now I can think about actually shifting it. So a shift happens when you take a character, say let, and add to it a shift. Now, this line of code doesn't really do anything. If I go over it and see this error, it says it's not a statement. I can say, think of your age plus 2, and that's a number. But I'm not doing anything with the number, and the computer's saying this line doesn't really accomplish anything. If I were to store this result, say int result equals let plus shift, now it's a statement. Now I'm doing something. I'm creating a value and storing it somewhere. So this, on first glance, actually looks like it works. Shift a character by a certain amount. I took my letter and I added to it a shift, which, as a reminder, works because we know that characters are really just numbers or symbol representations of numbers in the Ascii table. So here is the Ascii table. And the letter Q is really the number 81. So this is the character column. Over here on the left, that's the decimal column. So before I do anything, maybe I'll go back and test this, because I'm not too familiar with the Ascii table. So maybe when I go to display, the first thing I'll do is say system.out.println, and maybe I'll say the character was let. So I'm saying print this text and print the value that was stored in that variable. Now, maybe I want to say what the ASCII value of that. The ASCII value was, and now what I can do is say print let again, but this time cast it. Treat it like a number. I know that that character Q is really representing the number 81. So I'm going to say show that number 81. Now, remember, even though I've done this shift up here, I'm not printing anything about the shift. I'm not doing anything with the result. So far, I expect this program to say the character was Q, the ASCII value was 81. Let's see what happens. Running it, and drum roll. The character was Q, the ASCII value is 81. So far, so good. My assumptions are correct. Now let's get to the result. Because I'm a little lazy, I'm going to just copy these. Boom, boom. And we can say the shifted character or the encrypted character, instead of was, we'll say is. And it's not let, it's result. Now, I'm going to leave this be for right now. I'm just going to comment out this last line because you're going to notice we have a little bit of an issue. If I go to run it, my result is going to come up as 84. Now that's correct. An 81 shifted by 3 becomes an 84, but here I didn't want the numeric result. I wanted the character result. So now I have to do the reverse cast. I need to say treat this number like a character. So it says the encrypted character is the char version of result. On the flip side, if I uncomment this line, I can say the ASCII value of the encrypted character is, and here I can just write result because the ASCII value that I want is in fact an int. All right, so we'll do that. Let me move this over a little bit so we can see my whole screen. Oh, I guess that's as far as it's going to go. So here are my print statements. Let's try running it. And it looks like we got a Q shifted to a T. Now I can double check on the Ascii table. So I'm going back over here, and 84 should be a T, and it is. It looks like the basic version of my program works. Again, the point here is not to finish a really nice program. The point here is to get some basic functionality up and running so that we can later go back and improve and build off of it. This is really the key part of the program, and we're going to come back to that and revise it in future programs. So that's it for the basic version. The next video will deal with the advanced version. Bye.